We want to close track 2 with a final presentation by Pratyusha. You may already come up to stage while I announce what you're talking about. What we do in data science is often looking for data, and many times we have the challenge that we don't have enough data or only small data sets, but you have a lot. You talk about social media, you talk about Twitter data, and of course with our recent US president, this has been in the media more than ever, and all the issues evolved around bullying and hate speech and fake news, and of course what you do is very important in this domain. You want to assess the semantic of each and every tweet, and you have built a new approach to do this, and we're very much looking forward to seeing what you're doing.
Thank you for the introduction. Yeah, my name is Pratyusha Narella. I'm a research associate data science from BFH SREC, so Energy Storage Research Center. This research is done as part of my master thesis in support with Exascale from UNIFR. So the topic is graph EDM. This is a graph-based disambiguation technique, and the algorithm is applied on microposts. So we are going to see some introduction on entity disambiguation, and then we'll see some related work, and then I'll explain the algorithm which I worked on, and then we'll see the data sets and experiments and results on those data set, and then we'll conclude the work. So entity disambiguation is, it involves mapping of mentions in the text to the entities in the reference knowledge base. This entity disambiguation is a subtask of information extraction. So the knowledge base has entities which refer to real-world entities like person, location, or organization. So when I say mentions, mention is a text. Mention is a word or word phrase in the text that corresponds to or that has the potential to be mapped onto a reference knowledge base, an entity in the knowledge base. And when I say entity, an entity is something present in the knowledge base that refers to a real-world object again. So it's all different terms for the same thing. We can say the mentions and the entities. So mentions is something from the text, and entities are something in the knowledge base, and we map mentions to entities when doing the disambiguation. So for example here, consider the statement here, Obama visited Lakeview restaurant in New York City. So considering there are two different mentions in this text, Obama and New York City. So when we consider Wikidata knowledge base, we can map Obama to a page with ID, Wikidata ID Q76, which says Barack Obama, which says he's the 44th president of United States. And when I try to map the New York City, it maps to Q60 page with Wikidata ID, which says it is a city in the United States. So this is a disambiguation that we need to achieve at the end of the algorithm. So what is the need for disambiguation? So when I say I search for Obama on Wikidata, that is a knowledge base, I find a page for Obama who is the president of United States. I also find page for Obama which is a species or type of worm. And I also find a page for Obama which is a place in Japan. And I also find a place with Obama title which says it is a family name. So in this way, I find 9 possible pages in Wikidata knowledge base with Obama title. And when I looked for New York City, it has New York City as a city in the US, and there is also something for the debut, and there is something for the band, and there is something for the dance group. So in this way, there are 11 different possible pages for New York City in Wikidata knowledge base. So these all pages are considered as the candidate entities for these particular mentions. So out of these candidate entities, there is only one possible entity that is correct according to the sentence that we have seen before. So the disambiguation algorithms usually consider this set of candidate entities for this mention to disambiguate. So the algorithm starts with this particular list and finally selects one entity and maps the mention to the entity which is which will be correct actually. So it depends on the sentence which we take the mention from. So my topic here is named entity disambiguation in micropose. So Twitter is, as we all know, one of the most widely used social platforms now, and it has 500 million tweets posted per day. And yeah, tweets are valuable. They have much data. As this is for us being data, people being daily dealing with data. This is huge information which we can take and then see. So there are many researches going on with Twitter data or this type of data, data from social media, opinion mining, semantic analysis, and like this. So yeah, we require entity disambiguation to understand this tweet semantically so that it can be used for other research works also. So the main challenges, the key challenges in entity disambiguation now are the limited length of the tweet and also the informal style. So tweets are, nowadays it is 280 characters, but before it was 140 characters before. So user has increased the liberty of user has increased a bit, but still it is considered as a short text. So the user will not be able to put everything that he wants onto the tweet. So he will be precise when not tweeting. So this will make the context very less. So the tweet just focuses on the main content that he wants to tell to, instead of giving extra information what its background is or whatever. So, and the next one is informal style of the tweets. So tweets usually contain emojis or abbreviations and hashtags. So punctuations and capitalizations are actually main basis for entity disambiguation in formal documents. So tweets cannot guarantee those things too. So it is difficult to, we can say that informal style is also a key challenge for entity disambiguation in tweets. So coming to the work, entity disambiguation is performed on different documents, tables, and informal text too, like tweets. And yeah, the data, with the underlying data, the algorithms are also differ. And named entity extraction is usually the first step in the pipeline of entity disambiguation and before entity disambiguation. So named entity extraction refers to the identification of mentions in the text. So before, I directly told you that Obama and New York City are the mentions in the text, but there are algorithms to identify that these are the mentions in that text particularly. So those are named entity extraction. So there are many research works that just focus on disambiguation, leaving the entity extraction aside, and these research works just focus on named entity disambiguation and then use the state-of-the-art entity extraction techniques as the first step before the disambiguation. So if we see different knowledge bases also in the research works, different works use Wikidata, different use Yago, Yago 2, Yago 4, and different works use DBpedia as well. Yeah, coming to my methodology, so the graph EDM is a graph entity disambiguation method. It is actually divided into two different phases. In the first phase, we increase the context in the tweets. So we take all the tweets together and then try to increase the context. I'll tell you what it means, and then use this increased context in the second step, which is actual entity disambiguation phase. So we want to leverage the context that is enhanced in the entity extinction phase, and it will be used in disambiguation phase. For our work, we used Wikidata knowledge base. And coming to the context extension phase, so considering the tweets in the beginning, there are 3 steps here. So pre-processing the tweets, and then vectorizing the tweets, and then performing clustering on the tweets. So as I already said, tweets contain many abbreviations, hashtags, which are not used for us, and we can remove those. And yeah, and then we tokenize the tweets to be used later on. So for the after tokenizing the tweets, we convert the tweets into vectors. So vectorization technique is something that we convert tokens into vectors. So as we all know, machine learning techniques need every type of the data to be just converted into numerical data. So vectorization techniques are helpful in this kind of thing. So we used TF-IDF and embedding vectors. So we just, that is hyperparameters. And clustering, after converting the tweets into vectors, we used unsupervised clustering techniques to cluster the tweets. Entity disambiguation method. So entity here, we used an iterative entity graph-based disambiguation technique for entity disambiguation. So considering a group of cluster, like so, in the previous step, we have groups of tweets as a clusters. So we take the group of tweets and then give it to the disambiguation algorithm, which will assign one particular entity to the mention. So seeing here, we first train the word-to-vec model with all the entities from the Wikidata. This will be used to get the relationship between different entities from the Wikidata knowledge base. And considering one cluster, we make a list of mentions from all the tweets in the cluster. So we consider this list and then separate unambiguous mentions and ambiguous mentions. Ambiguous mentions are the mentions that we have seen before, like which has multiple candidate entities. So we form initial graph with just the unambiguous mentions. And in each iteration, we try to disambiguate one ambiguous mention. So considering the example here, suppose say this is, here we are considering mentions as country names, names of the country from tweets. So here we have two different countries here, Russia and United States, which are, say we already disambiguated those, and we have assigned an entity for them. And then now we are disambiguating the mention, which is Syria. So here we have two different candidate entities for Syria, saying Syria one is a country, and the other one says Syria, that is subgenes of insects. So we form a graph like this, which is a bipartite graph, and we assign the weights on the graph using the word-to-vec embedding, word-to-vec model, which we built before. So the weight on this graph says the relations between this and this node and this node. So on this particular node, on this particular graph, we then apply the PageRank centrality ranking algorithm. And then we found that Syria country has more rank than the Syria subgenes of insects. So this one is considered as an entity for the mentioned Syria here. So this is the architecture of the graph idiom. So considering 4 different tweets here, we first pre-process the tweets and then convert the tweets into vectors and then cluster the tweets. And the clusters, each cluster is considered individually in the entity disambiguation method. So moving to the experiments and results here. So details of the experiment. So as I said, in the context extension phase, I initially used embeddings as the vectorization technique, and I used k-means clustering as unsupervised clustering technique. And in the entity disambiguation algorithm, I used PageRanking as the ranking algorithm. And I used 7 gold standard data sets that are publicly available to us. So these data sets have tweet ID and the mentions, and they also have the corresponding entity, which we took as the ground truth after comparing the results after disambiguation. So to get we also have to use the tweet text. So we use Twitter API to get the tweet text from Twitter. Yeah, so there are 3 baselines that we compared our algorithm to. So the first one is AIDA. So this is a very popular tool that is already available online, which can disambiguate text, tables, and also informal text, like large documents also. So this is and then WAT API. This is a web service that is also available online. So this is This is a successor of TagMe, which is a famous disambiguation tool online. And ELTDS, this is a recent paper which is from 2018. So ELTDS is entity linking through dominant entity candidates. So this is the algorithm is just applied on few candidates which are dominant from the list of candidate entities. So when I say dominant candidates, it is the entities that are very popular in this particular time period. So considering a group of tweets in a particular time period, and they also considered a group of entities that are very popular in Twitter during that time. And we try to answer 3 research questions here. So we try to answer, the first one is how well the algorithm performed with respect to the baselines. And we also seen the effect of various clustering techniques, unsupervised clustering techniques on the data. And we also see the various effect of various vectorization techniques. So comparing the baselines, as we see here, our GraphEDM outperforms on 5 baselines out of the 7 baselines we considered, and on the other 2 baselines we have seen competitive results. And as we see here, the first, so we considered micropost challenge datasets, and each dataset is considered individually here. So micropost test and train 2014, and test, train, and development 2016, and Brian and Meena collection. So as we see here, the first 2 datasets are our GraphEDM perform better, and the third dataset, VAT API perform better in the third one. So as we see here, we have VAT API had high precision. This is because they have a separate pruning method after disambiguation, which eliminates the entities that are not coherent with the text under consideration. And our third data set suffered much because the mentions in the text and the entities in the Wikidata knowledge base differ a lot. And effect of clustering. So we tried the different unsupervised clustering techniques. We used k-means. Along with that, we used k-meroids, hierarchical agglomerative clustering. We also used affinity propagation. We used hybrid hierarchical k-means, which is a combination of hierarchical agglomerative and k-means. And we also used Levine technique. So here, except Levine technique, all other techniques used vectorization, because Levine is a graph-based clustering technique, and we just used it on the words of the tweet dataset. And as we see here, for the small datasets, all the clustering techniques perform similarly. And when coming to the bigger datasets, we observe that. So different, there is no one clustering technique. We cannot say that one clustering technique is enough for all the data sets, because different data sets have different behavior, and they are composed of different features. So we cannot say that every single unsupervised clustering technique will be suitable for all the data sets. So we try to use different techniques and then see which one performs better. And effect of vectorization. So as I said, we have used both TF-IDF and embeddings. So this is how, on average, this is how they performed on different data sets. So as we see, there is not much difference between those two, but on this also, on bigger data sets, TF-IDF suffered a lot because the data was sparse. Much data was sparse. And to conclude the work, we designed a algorithm or a framework for entity disambiguation in microposts, in the tweets especially. And we show that extending the context in the tweets, so grouping the tweets together can, and then performing disambiguation of each cluster can enhance, can help in increasing the performance of the disambiguation algorithm, and then help in understanding the tweets more. And we observe that our disambiguation algorithm outperformed by up to 15.13% than when compared to the baselines. So sorry. we would also like to, in future, we would also like to study the effect of different data, as the data sets are different sizes. We also want to study how it affects the disambiguation algorithm, and we also want to perform dynamic clustering, saying that we have already set of tweets clustered, like history tweets clustered, and then assigning tweets to those new tweets which we want to test to those clusters, and then performing the disambiguation algorithm. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yusha. I think that we already have an online question, which I have already been forwarded by Georg. Milica Petrovic wants to know, why is there a clustering step in the context extension phase? And do you do entity disambiguation separately for each cluster?
Yes. So there is, as I said, the context extension phase is to cluster the tweets into different clusters so that each cluster can be disambiguated separately. So disambiguation algorithm is applied on each cluster, mentions of each cluster separately.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any more questions? You would like probably to go to the microphone.
Did you also compare the computational efficiency? Because you have iterative steps. It doesn't seem to scale well.
Yeah, even we have iterative steps, the number of mentions that we considered per each iteration is less when compared to other with other algorithms or something. So even when we consider VAT API or ALTDS, which are like prominent entity disambiguation algorithms, they are trained on like vast amount of data before. So, but we just trained on the data set that we have, and then even tested on the same data set. Like we divided each data set into test and train, and then we performed everything. So even computationally, it is not a big problem here. It was not a big problem with that thing. One
more question, moving to the microphone.
I was wondering, have you considered using contextualized word embeddings? Because now you use Word2Vec. I mean, imagine that, for example, using BERT or Elmo could boost your model quite a bit.
Yeah, we have already used the Google News Word2Vec vector, which was trained on 300 billion words. So that is the one which we have used to convert the. It is trained on news data. There was Google News. Yeah, it was called Google News embeddings, which we used to like convert the tweets into embeddings. So it's already conceptual one which we have.
But Word2Vec itself is not contextualized. I think that's one major issue that you could maybe improve by using a embedding that itself has a context.
Okay. Yeah, we'll try that again. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Thank you. We, in the Alliance, we are often representing companies, Patricia, and now in the context of social media, I understand you could do a lot when you disambiguate the context, showing ads that fit or whatever. But in the context of companies, how could a Swiss company use your work?
Yeah, when we want to put it into an industry, yeah, we definitely can use this for the publicity, or yeah, when we want to do a survey kind of thing, saying that like how many people have talked about a particular company, like how the development of how the popularity of that particular company.
Okay, within the social media.
Yes. Within this particular amount of time also.
Okay, okay. And I see your work was mainly being done in English, and of course in Switzerland we have 4 languages, and sometimes if you look at each dialect, you could consider there even more. What's your opinion on that? Would your approach work for that Swiss language dialect as well?
Yeah, definitely. Like I've seen many projects that have been started, that are being started even with Swisscom and many big companies, like using like local dialects for data enhancements, or even developing a local dialect what we say like that. So assistant, assistant kind of assistanting device. So like Google Chrome or Alexa. So we can work on this also, yeah.
All right. Then, Pratyusha, I thank you very much for your
Thank you.
talk.
Thank
Wish you all the best for
Thank
your
you.
next steps.